Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Today, I have a very interesting channeling to read for those who are fans of Q'uo or who are interested in the history of LL research. You can go to the website and you can look through older channelings. And the first recorded channeling that is on the website was actually delivered on March 1st, 1972, before I was ever even born. And Carla documented the channeling, and Don Elkins channels Hatonn, answering questions from Carla in the channeling. The story behind the channeling is that she was writing a paper on maturity for an educational and developmental psychology class she was taking at Spalding College while pursuing an advanced degree. It was a direction she did not pursue, but it was in order to take a job with the school system of the county of Louisville and surrounding areas, and she needed 3 courses which she got for emergency certification. The channeling took place after she had done extensive research on what the people in the field had said about maturity. It all had to do for the normal psychologist with behavior, how you behaved. I felt that was unacceptably shallow, as maturity has so many levels. Not all of them behavioral. But nothing in the literature covered this, so I turned to Hatonn. This channeling was perfect in that it agreed with my feelings, and I used it to write my paper. The poor professor, she gave me an A, but said please don't share the paper with anyone, as she could get in trouble for allowing a discarnate source. I put this channeling in as an appendix to my paper. For those who are not aware, Q'uo is a group of higher, advanced beings that come from 3 billion years in the past, gathered together from multiple different planets, who offer services of spiritual nature to the earth, teaching primarily through channeling about things like the harvest and our own transformation into what they call fourth density. Q'uo is actually an offshoot from an original channeling which they had done with Ra in 1981 through 1983. These were very intense channeling periods where the main person channeling, Carla Ruckert, would be completely out and would not remember anything that was channeled. 3 people were involved. So there clearly is a history of channeling that came before it. And it's interesting knowing that we get Q'uo channelings in 1990. We get the Ra channelings in the 80s, but the first channeling is Hatonn. Hatonn is a 4th density social memory complex. I've never understood which planet they're from. I have seen Hatonn references in other early channelings from the time. And there's a whole history of Hatonn channelings on the LL Research website. Q'uo is made up of Hatonn, L'Twi, and Ra. L'Twi is 5th density, Ra is 6th density. Together, they create the answer for the questions in the Q'uo channelings. I really enjoy the Q'uo channeling because it feels like an angel is talking to me. But I'm also super fascinated by the history of LL Research and the ways in which they channeled earlier on and how they are different and in many ways the same. This beginning session goes far beyond just the question of maturity, with deep answers about thought and consciousness. The question opening implies that she had talked to Hatonn before, and there is a history of channeling with Carla, and I'm sure she was channeling Hatonn much longer before this had happened. She begins by asking, Hatonn, I am speaking through this instrument. I will speak to you on the subject of maturity, for this you have requested. As you have already indicated, this concept may be somewhat different from that which is generally appreciated by your peoples. Maturity, my friends, is in truth a maturity of the spirit, for in truth there is nothing but the spirit. Physical illusion which you appreciate in your daily lives is of no consequence other than for its result in action upon the spiritual self. Don Elkins channeling. I am Hatonn. I greet you, my friends, in the love and in the light of our infinite Creator. It is a great privilege to be with you once more. I am always privileged to be with you. These are the thoughts of the one known as Hatonn. I'm speaking through this instrument. I will speak to you on the subject of maturity. For this you have requested. As you have already indicated, this concept may be somewhat different from that which is generally appreciated by your peoples. Maturity, my friends, is in truth a maturity of the spirit, for in truth there is nothing but the spirit. Physical illusion, which you appreciate in your daily lives, is of no consequence other than for its result in action upon the spiritual self. Maturity, my friends, is the first realization of this fact. Secondly, maturity is the ability to control one's own consciousness in such a way so as to propagate the continuance of this maturing process. Maturity, my friends, then is realized in the ability to control one's consciousness. Unfortunately, upon the planet which you now enjoy, there is but very little true control of the basic consciousness, and therefore there is very, very little maturity. It is necessary first to realize the value of each thought you have, and then to reject those of little or no value. Most of the thoughts that we are able to discern occurring in the daily lives of those who dwell upon this planet lack maturity. For this reason, you might consider the planet upon which you live a planet of children. Their daily thoughts communicated to one another hold them in this state. It is a self-propagating thing, communicated from one to the other. It is necessary to reject thoughts that continually infringe upon your mind from your present environment, and to carefully select each thought that you generate in order to reach a state of true mental maturity. You might ask how it is possible to select thoughts of value from thoughts that are meaningless or of little value. It is very simple, my friends. All that is necessary for you to analyze the thought with respect to the real objectives of your person. If the thought has true consequence, if the thought is of a true developmental nature, that is to say, if it develops either your consciousness or the consciousness of someone else with whom you are communicating, then it is a worthwhile thought. If it does not develop the consciousness, then it is probably of very little value. Now, how will a thought or concept develop into consciousness? There are several ways. One technique of development is simply evolving the ability of analyzing the merits of your thoughts. After this has been done, the thoughts themselves will act as generators of the maturing process. Each thought you have is important. It is important either in a negative or a positive sense. If it is a thought that is of no consequence, it is important to recognize this thought as being of no value. If it is a thought of consequence, then it is necessary that you amplify it and utilize it and communicate it, or it too will be of very little value. Maturity, my friends, is the first ability to think in this manner. It is second to act in the manner in which you think. There are millions and millions of thoughts generated by the people of your planet each day. Very, very small percentage of these thoughts have to do with maturity. That is, a very, very small percentage of them have to do with creating a better environment for the growth of the spiritual self. By this I mean actively causing spiritual development. What is spiritual development? It is the process of maturing. The process of maturing. The process of analyzing everything that you are aware of in a true and unbiased sense. In order to do this, one must be able to recognize truth. It is only possible for one to recognize truth by the process of allowing truth to communicate the absolute base for truth, which is ever present throughout the universe. This communication is accomplished primarily through the technique of meditation. There is a separation of maturity into primarily two aspects: intellectual and spiritual maturity. They go hand in hand, and one generates the other. However, it is not necessary to acquire intellectual maturity in order to acquire spiritual maturity. It is, however, necessary to acquire spiritual maturity in order to acquire intellectual maturity, for the intellect cannot accurately evaluate concepts without a true spiritual basis. There are three more things which I would like to speak about concerning maturity: the concept of infantile maturity, the concept of general or induced maturity, the concept of absolute or total maturity. The concept of infantile maturity is highly misunderstood upon this planet. An infant, upon incarnating into your environment, has a certain amount of maturity that he normally brings with him. It is not necessary to induce this quality of maturity through any system of education to the infant. It is only necessary that he be alerted to the possibility of generating a continuance through his own intellectual processes of his own spiritual evolution and consequently spiritual maturity. Unfortunately, your religious systems do not provide, for the most part, this stimulus. It is important that, in order for infantile maturity to progress at an acceptable rate, the infant be made aware at the earliest age possible of his responsibility in creating an intellectual communication with his total self. This is usually done through techniques of ritual and appreciation of the natural forces of the universe. The ritual that is employed by most of your religious systems upon your planet is highly ineffective, since it is generated primarily by force and is not freely offered to be accepted or rejected. Those even in an extreme infantile state who are appreciative due to their previous growth of the proper ritualistic communications will accept them and continue at their own pace and should not be forced to attend weekly meetings at specific hours for these purposes, since they reach a peak of spiritual attunement that is a function of their own cyclical activities, and therefore should be able to seek out at any time spiritual communications and should be provided with a place for seeking. And this should be the limit of that which is expected of them. Your present system drives most of your people from spiritual seeking at a very early age due to the aspect of force, which should be totally removed. This is what we have experienced and what we have found to be most beneficial. The second aspect of which I speak is that of induced maturity, occurring in most unusual aspect among the peoples of your present society. This maturity, which is a false maturity, is induced by the social systems which are presently in effect upon your planet. Each system intellectually communicates an aspect of assumed maturity, which has nothing to do with real or absolute maturity. Therefore, much strife and confusion is realized by those who attempt to orient their thinking so as to reach the accepted state or level of the assumed concept of the mature mind. This concept is usually heavily intellectual, for your society at present is primarily an intellectual society with very, very little awareness of the existence or function of what you would call a spiritual society. Therefore, to mature within the boundaries of your present society and be accepted as a mature person, it is necessary to be able to communicate with it in its accepted intellectual jargon, which includes primarily a ridiculously long list of totally meaningless concepts. These should be, if one is to attain true maturity, rejected as meaningless, for they are extreme transients and have nothing to do with spiritual maturity. The last aspect of maturity upon which I wish to speak is that of real maturity. My friends, there is only one way to reach real maturity, that is through meditation. You have said this many times. You cannot get there by intellectual mechanisms. You cannot get there by analyzing each of your thoughts and labeling it either worthwhile or worthless. All these things are aids, but without the foundation of daily meditation, you cannot use this analysis, for the result of this analysis is insulated from the total self by a boundary. This boundary is permeable, but this boundary is only permeable when the mind is conditioned through meditation. Lack of meditation reduces this boundary to an impermeable state, all intellectual functions occurring on the surface and having little effect upon the growth of the true self. So you see, my friends, there is a dual process occurring. However, the meditation is always of the primary and greater importance. Once, however, the art of meditation has been fully mastered, the intellectual mind becomes a useful tool in the development of spirit. It is of little consequence until this state of communication between the two is mastered. Therefore, my friends, all is of no avail until receptivity is made possible through daily meditation. This not only breaks down the barrier between intellect and the spirit, it also breaks down all other barriers between spirit and the one great all. I hope that I have been of some service to you in this discussion. I realize that it is difficult to speak to you on this subject because it is a difficult subject if one is to use the parameters of your present society. We considered it very, very simple. Therefore, any true discussion of the subject should require no more than a few sentences. It has been a privilege to speak with you. Adonai, my friends, I am Hatonn. We then move to the next channeling given by Hatonn, which is on December 18th, 1973. It does not say who was channeling. I am Hatonn. I am very pleased to be with you this evening. It is always a great pleasure to be with you. I greet you, my friends, in the love and the light of our infinite Creator. I and my brother Latos are here. We will condition you as I speak to you. It is very important, my friends, to spend time in meditation. Very important. We of the Confederation of Planets, in the service of the Infinite Father, are with you, my friends, and you are with us, in a single effort. Our effort, as I have said before, is to awaken the people of this planet to truth. This has been tried many, many times. They are sleeping very, very soundly. Yes, my friends, they are asleep, dreaming a dream that is fantastic. It is beyond the belief of those who know truth that such a dream could be a dream, but this is the case. Many of your people have dormant within them the memory of truth. Many others have a less accurate memory, and few have no memory at all. The truth, however, is within them, for it is within all men, in all places. For those of the first category, it is relatively easy to awaken them from their slumber. The second category is much, much more difficult, and the third, for the present, will be impossible for you to awaken. Do not concern yourself if an individual rejects an attempt you might make to awaken him. This simply means he is not ready for this truth to be given unto him. Concern yourselves with those who would seek the truth and make it available to them in any way that you can. There are many people upon your planet at this time who are attempting to cloud the memory of this truth. They are not aware of what they are doing. This is not their fault, but it is unfortunately the condition. It is not a simple task that we have outlined, and I am afraid it will require a great deal of effort. We have not been as successful as we had hoped to be when we initiated this project some years ago. The people of your planet do not actually wish to be awakened for the most part. Those who are sleeping very, very lightly are all too few. However, you will know them as you find them, and you will recognize their lightness of slumber by their activities, for they will not be as enmeshed in the insanity, if we can call it that is so prevalent on your world today. These people are already seeking. In this case, it will be but a simple matter for you to convey to them that which they need. It is, however, very important that you be able to give them what they need. For this reason, we suggest that you continue to meditate, for only in this way can you be prepared to serve them. I speak not only of the preparation to act as does this instrument as a vocal channel, but also a preparation of your own thinking, so that you will know the truth with no doubt or hesitation in speaking it. It is within you, my friends, and we will reawaken it within you, for your slumber is but very, very light. It is only necessary that you avail yourself to us through meditation. There are many wondrous things that we would freely give you if you would simply avail yourself to us. Those gifts are freely given. It is not only our pleasure and our privilege to do this, but our duty, as it is our duty to pass them on to others, for this is the plan of the creation. The creation is a single entity. Each part of it is designed to aid and help all the other parts. This is the original plan. It is a very simple thing for you to understand if you will relax and look at the original true creation and forget that which was created by your fellow man upon the surface of your planet that you now enjoy, and think of the plan and the working of the Father's original creation. It is quite obvious that each part was designed to aid and benefit each other part. Unfortunately, due to the action of the free will that he gave to its parts, there have been some errors, shall I say, made by some of the parts, and they have strayed from the original plan, confusing themselves and confounding the workings of this plan. It is only necessary to realize the truth of this plan to know its workings. It is only necessary that you meditate to have all of these things given to you or reawakened within you. For all of this knowledge was originally given to all the parts of this creation. It dwells within every living thing, and everything in this creation lives. We of the Confederation of Planets, in the service of the Infinite Creator, are living as closely to the plan as we possibly can. We do this because we know it to be the only logical and rational way of living. To divorce yourself from the plan is only to confound the true workings of nature. Your people at present are totally unaware of such a plan. Your scientists ignore it. They are extremely interested in plans of their own. Unfortunately, their plans do not follow the plan of the Creator. Therefore, they waste much of their time and energy and build devices that have no real valuable purpose. They are transient, I can assure you. Your scientists should realize that there is a purpose to the creation that far surpasses what they suspect. They should avail themselves to the purpose in meditation. Then they should find that they would begin to understand the plan, and thereby they would be able to use their knowledge to build within the plan, not as they do now, with no heed at all to the truth, and with plans of their own which have no relationship to truth. Your governments make the same error. They do not work within the plan. They are not aware of the plan. They attempt to make law, but their laws do not work. They appear to have some value, but very shortly much strife is generated and the result is war. They do not understand that the reason for this strife is that they have ignored the natural plan of creation, the natural order of things, and the law of the Creator that has devised this. Your leaders should avail yourself in meditation to truth, as we do. We are aware that at this particular time it is necessary for your scientists and your leaders to do such a thing, for they are in the vast depths of slumber and cannot at this time be awakened for the most part. There are only a few, many too few, who are very lightly slumbering. It will be necessary, therefore, to concern yourself with those whom you contact in any and all walks of life, the ones who are slightly slumbering, the ones who will seek on their own after they have been made aware of the possibility of seeking. Is our plan to alert as many of these people as possible so that when it becomes obvious to your leaders and to your scientists that we are real and that we are what they suspect that we might be, there will be a sufficient number of awakened entities on your planet for some form of communication to take place between those who are already awake and those who are lightly slumbering in the future. For as time passes, those who are in the depths of slumber will now begin to awake. Those who cannot contact at all now will begin to awake. It will be a self-generating process so that large numbers of your people will be given the truth. It is a very, very big task. It will be up to you and those like you to help us in carrying this out. We have said before that we would very much like to land upon your surface and contact your peoples directly, but we have explained that this is not at all feasible. I am aware of many planets such as this one that have gone through a cycle of awakening. Many planets made this transition with considerable ease because they were following the plan. Unfortunately, this planet has lagged in the natural scheme of things. This is what you might refer to as a borderline case. There will be those of your people who make the graduation and those who do not. This is not always the case with all planets. In some instances, all individuals are ready for the graduation that you now approach. In some unfortunate instances, none are ready. In your particular place, it is a combination of both instances. Therefore, do not be dismayed if your ideas are totally rejected by some, for this is to be expected. And this is the major reason that we cannot come among you, for it would be a direct violation of one of the laws of which I earlier spoke. Due to their conditions, it is necessary for those of you who would help us, who are on the surface of your planet, to help us. We request that you meditate. That is all that is necessary. This is all the help that we need. Because if you meditate, then you will know what to do. And this is all the help that we need, or all the help that we would desire, for this is also part of the plan. It has been a privilege to be with you. This evening I am Hatonn. I will leave you in his love and in his light. Adonai, Adonai Vasu. It is at this point they begin to channel some different entities. We see Latos, Oxal, and Philip from the Brotherhood of the Seven Ray. And Hatonn is once again channeled in January 7th of 1974. I am Hatonn. I greet you, my friends, in the love and the light of the one infinite Creator. It is a very great privilege to be with you this evening. I and my brothers are here. We have been here for many years, and we have given freely to your people that which we had to give, our knowledge of truth. Unfortunately, there has been too little dissemination. Most of your people are unaware of contacts, and if they are aware of them, they have been misled. They do not understand what we have for them. Your people are somewhat unique. We have visited other planets and made contacts such as this one, and we are listened to, for they recognize truth when they hear it. The people of your planet do not seem to recognize truth as easily as the other peoples of which I just spoke. The peoples of your planet are quite hypnotized by a false illusion created by themselves. At an earlier period in your history, many more of your people would have paid attention to our words, for they were, as you might say, more superstitious at that time. It is only necessary that our words be made available to your people. Those who will recognize them as truth will do so. Those who cannot recognize them as truth will not. It is as simple as that. There is no need to impress this information any further upon your people than simply exposing them to it. This, however, has not been carried on in sufficient quantity. It is for this reason that we are now attempting to impress upon channels such as this one the need for greater dissemination of that information that we have to present to your people. We of the Confederation of Planets are here and have a job to do. We have been diligently working at this job for many of your years. We are aware of the problems that you face in attempting to make more of the people of your planet aware of our communications, but we will assure you that we will aid you in doing this. As time progresses, more and more aid can be given. You will have noticed that in the past 20 years, attitudes have changed considerably. Things that were very difficult to talk about with the general population are now relatively easy to talk about. Their acceptance of our presence is much greater than it was in the past. Your own expeditions into space, however, slightly have aided greatly in the acceptance of your general public's attitudes toward possibilities of extraterrestrial contact. We of the Confederation of Planets, in the service of our infinite Creator, are here to contact you now. We must emphasize this. We are here to do this. This is our purpose. We must, however, make this contact very, very carefully in a predetermined way. That is what is happening in this room at this instant. There can be no variation from this technique at this time. We've had many experiences in contacting peoples. It has always been found that it must be done with extreme caution. There are grave consequences when an alien society is impressed directly upon another society, especially when technological separation is as vast as is ours. Your people would not understand at all. They would not accept us for what we are. We could not walk among them and be accepted. And this is what we wish to do, to be accepted. For my friends, we are all exactly the same. We could not speak directly to your people and have them gain benefit from our teachings, for they would feel that they must accept without question what we say. This is of no benefit, my friends. You are here at this time, as we are where we are, primarily to seek in our own way that which is the path back toward the Creator of us all. An interruption that is too great in this personal seeking is not a very good thing. For this reason, we are unable to directly contact your people. We must provide them, however, with that which they need, and this we are doing to the best of our ability. However, it is of extreme importance that those of you who are available to help us to do so. You will find that at first, You may have considerable difficulty in doing this because, as this instrument has stated, it is a tricky business. You must also remember that the individual must seek. If you provide information, then do it so that it is understandable, simple, and in no way forced upon the recipient. We of the Confederation of Planets, in the service of the Infinite Creator, are always with you. We are constantly serving you. It is only necessary that you avail yourself to us, and we will be there. In the future, in the very, very near future, you may expect much, much more support from us in a physical way, for time now grows very short. Very, very short. Reach out to your brothers in space, as we do to you. I leave you now. I am Hatonn. I leave you in the love and in the light of our infinite Creator, Adonai Vasu. On the following day, they speak to Latos, Oxal, and then Hatonn once again on January 8th, 1974. I am Hatonn. I greet you, my friends, in the love and in the light of our infinite Creator. It is a great privilege to be with you this evening. I am aware of certain questions. I will attempt to answer these questions at this time. There are many, many things that will happen in your future. There are many, many things that have happened in your past. Each of these things has a meaning. Each of these meanings can be known. It is only necessary to avail yourself in meditation, and you can know what these things are. Many of the interpretations are not possible in the language of the people of your present planet, where they have no concept to include these meanings. The meanings can be known to you in full. There are many wondrous things in this creation, so many more than the people of your planet imagine, that I could not begin to give you an idea of what exists. There are 7 ways to choose that which you would seek. There are right ways and there are wrong ways, but the paths are not labeled. There is a path through the woods, a path by a stream, a path by a highway, a path through a door, a path that is lighted and a path that is not lighted, and a path that goes nowhere but returns upon itself. But who made these paths, my friends? And why are they there? 6 principles are linked to these paths. The principle of light, the principle of sound, the principle of motion, the principle of vibration, the principle of time, and the principle of energy. 5 types of people embark: the light, the dark, the yellow, the red, and the last, which has no color. And they go 4 places. They go north, south, east, or west, and experience 3 things: love, hate, and tranquility, which leads to 2 poles, good or evil. But each of these things leads to one, my friends, and that one is the Creator. And that concludes these early channelings from Hatonn. It is a genuine honor to read these words because they were calling for help. Please disseminate this material. And now, finally, 50 years later, while it's been on this website, we can share it in a live experience with music in the background and really soak in these words. And it felt like they were speaking to me in this moment right now. Not a lot has changed from 1972. There are a lot of people that are still asleep, just as they explain. There are some that are lightly slumbering, and for those that are lightly slumbering that hear my voice, now the alarm is on. It is time for you to awaken. Awaken to the light within. Awaken to who you truly are. This path can be found through meditation. Through meditation is the only means in which these sort of entities can communicate. They can't land in their ships. We would never accept them. The only way they can communicate with us is not by any direct physical means that can be confirmed or verified. It has to come through a channeling. There's always that part of you that can question whether or not the channeling is true. That's the arrangement that is made with Saturn, the Council of 9, in the Law of One, the raw material. There's a quarantine on the planet Earth. And the only way that these entities can communicate with us is through channelings. There's good channelings and bad channelings, but there is immense knowledge and a depth of experience and light that can be found from these words. Other planets just easily go through it. They accept the light. They accept the idea of oneness. They join together, but not our planet. Our planet's got negative and positive. We are on the borderline, and it is our time now. It is our time to shift our polarity towards love rather than fear. We can see this as an echo from the past, an echo in time and space. As I call you with the words of Hatonn from another channeling later in that year, join with us, members of the Confederation of Planets, in his service to act as a stepping stone from the darkness that now abounds upon your planet to the light that is so ever present in this infinite creation. I am very privileged to have read these words with you today. I am Brian Scott. I will leave you in the love and the light of our infinite Father. Adonai, my friends, Adonai Vasu Boragas. And welcome to the Reality Revolution.